All right. Ready? All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for a press conference on a bill package known as Standing Up for Pennsylvania Workers. As the Republican chair of the Labor and Industry Committee, one of the primary responsibilities we have is to find ways that we can improve the working condition and environment for workers across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And during this legislative session, we have offered a number of legislative proposals that would actually enhance worker safety, promote fairness in the workplace, and support those who are striving to provide for their families. Unfortunately, what we've seen out of the Democrat majority on the Labor and Industry Committee is a lot of talk, but no action. They have repeatedly provided very partisan proposals that have gone through committee, even sometimes made it through the House floor, but die because they have no bipartisan support. And so what we have offered here is a package of actual proposals that we believe could go into law and help Pennsylvania workers. On each of these topics, we know that they are critical issues on topics that people care about across our communities. And so today we have three of those bill sponsors who want to talk about their individual proposals, and again, the unfortunate situation where they haven't even been called up for a vote in some instances. So we would like to talk about this, raise these issues, raise the awareness on these individual topics where we are fighting for Pennsylvania workers and the things that we have actually put forward that would be solutions to help them. With that, the first person that we have is Representative Ann Flood. I'm going to call Ann up, and she can talk about her piece of legislation which she has introduced this session. Thank you.
Our workplace must be safe, supportive environments for everyone. Unfortunately, sexual harassment and assault continue to plague workplaces across Pennsylvania. It is alarming to know that up to 81% of women will experience some form of harassment or assault in their lifetime, and 1 of 3 will face it specifically in the workplace. These staggering numbers highlight a harsh reality: most victims never file formal complaints. Instead, they're often forced to change jobs, leave industries, or pass up opportunities for advancements, all to escape the toxic environments created by this abuse. In too many cases, non-disclosure and non-disparaging agreements have been used by employers to silence victims and to protect perpetrators, which creates a culture of silence and allows harmful behavior to continue to be unchecked. No worker should ever feel pressured into silence or fear retaliation for speaking out against harassment. That's why I've introduced House Bill 1906. This legislation will prohibit the enforcement of pre-employment, non-disclosure, and non-disparagement agreements in cases of sexual harassment or assault. It would also void any agreements made before a dispute arises, ensuring that victims have the freedom to speak out and seek justice. By aligning Pennsylvania law with federal protections, this bill will create a safer and more transparent environment for workers. It empowers victims to come forward without fear, holds perpetrators accountable, and encourages others to share their stories, breaking the cycle of silence. Let's unite in supporting important measures like my House Bill 1906 and other critical legislation presented today that protects workers in our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Flood. Next up, we have Representative Valerie Gatos.
Thank you, Chairman Mackenzie. Good morning. The lack of affordable health care for small businesses has been crushing on our economy because it's crushing on our small businesses. Every day, entrepreneurs across Pennsylvania are grappling with skyrocketing health care costs for their employees, which not only strains their finances, but it also hinders their ability to attract and retain good workers. But it also is preventing workers from getting the care and support and health care that they need in these small businesses. Small businesses are the backbone of our economy. We should be supporting them. They drive innovation, create jobs, and contribute to the vitality of our communities. However, as healthcare costs continue to rise, especially and disproportionately for these small businesses, they find it increasingly difficult to provide the essential benefits that their employees need. This is not just a financial burden, it's a barrier to growth and opportunity for all. This legislation that I've introduced, which is House Bill 555, would guarantee coverage is available to all, prohibiting the denial based on pre-existing conditions, and it aligns with the standards set by the Affordable Care Act. It ensures every employee has access to affordable health care in a small business setting. By enabling these small business employers to pool their resources, we can leverage group buying power to significantly reduce health care costs. And this is something that the Affordable Care Act, while well-intended, pretty much was discriminatory and punitive to small businesses. This kind of offering to pool resources is right now offered to unions, and it's offered to large employees. It should also be offered to small businesses who have the ability to pool with other businesses of their like mind. This is a practice that is already being implemented in more than 30 states. So if we enact measures, these type of measures similarly in Pennsylvania, we can empower our small businesses to become more competitive. We can cut costs and not only help entrepreneurs thrive, but create an environment where they can attract and maintain a workforce. Taking this action to cut the cost of health care for our employees and for employers is imperative. House Bill 555 is that meaningful step in that direction. And now, with this House Bill 555, we can create a healthier, more competitive landscape for small businesses. I look forward to working with my colleagues on getting this package through, and I appreciate their support of this legislation.
Thank you, Representative Gatos. The final speaker is Representative Eric Nelson.
Thank you, Chairman Mackenzie. I appreciate your leadership and opportunity to include public sector safety data, which is HB 959, in your Pennsylvania worker package. My wife Susan and I have 7 kids. All of them work this summer, and some are already out into the working world. 1 was in a hospital, 2 were in factories, 1 worked concrete, and 2 scooped ice cream. As a dad, I wanted them to come home safe every day. That's what we want for our public sector employees. Unfortunately, this is not always the case. Last session, we worked with Indiana University of Pennsylvania Safety Science Department to conduct an analysis of worker injuries from 2019 to determine if public sector employees were injured at higher rates than private sector employees. They could not answer that question. We found public sector injury information is considerably incomplete. Pennsylvania tracks workers' comp codes, not injury cause, which is the way OSHA and private industry does it. So as a result, right now, 1 out of 5 fatalities cannot even be classified with an employer. And 7 of the 19 fatalities that happened in local and state government were listed as other, not otherwise specified. There is no data available, and Pennsylvania can do better. The first step in worker safety is to know how they're getting hurt and where they're getting hurt, and then we go fix it. It is our goal to advance worker safety data, and it's a bipartisan bill because we all want workers to come home. I look forward to advancing this bill next session, and I appreciate the leadership of Chairman Mackenzie for including worker safety as a top priority. Thank you.
Well, thank you to each of these representatives for bringing forward these important pieces of legislation. We'll just very quickly roll through the other components of this 6-bill package of standing up for Pennsylvania workers. So House Bill 2000 would create a paid family and medical leave tax credit, something that is critically important to families across this Commonwealth who are struggling with high inflation and high prices driven by the massive overspending in Washington, D.C. Families need relief, and this bill would provide that. Next, we see that requiring E-Verify for all public contracts, House Bill 274. If we want to deal with the scourge of illegal immigration, everything that is coming into our communities, taking away American jobs from American workers, the first thing that we should be doing is protecting Pennsylvania tax dollars to make sure that they aren't going to fund illegal immigrants taking those jobs away. So we can do that by requiring E-Verify for all public contracts. Also, in House Bill 2593, we recently held a hearing in the House Labor and Industry Committee where we heard about the unfortunate rise of violence in healthcare facilities. In a bipartisan fashion, we want to work to address that issue. We heard from the stakeholders at that meeting, and we actually put forward this proposal. Unfortunately, Democrats, every testifier fell on deaf ears. They had their proposal going into that hearing. They haven't made any changes. They haven't even run their bill because they know it doesn't actually address the situation and help those workers. So we have a package of 6 bills here that would help workers, protecting their safety, promoting fairness in the workplace, and supporting those who are striving to provide for their families. Again, we want to work in a bipartisan fashion to address these very real problems that Pennsylvania's workers are facing. And not only are we talking the talk, but we are walking the walk. We have our legislative solutions that we have introduced, and we are asking for them to be brought up for a vote. If not, I think the only solution is for voters to get out there and vote, make their voices heard, make it known that they want to stand up for Pennsylvania workers and bring about real change in November so that we can bring these proposals to the floor and help our Pennsylvania workers across the Commonwealth. Thank you for joining us, and I look forward to continuing this conversation about how we can help Pennsylvania workers in the future. Thank you.